This is Jay Cooper, formerly Benjamin J. Cooper. This is video 3 of how I founded Google and began everything from day one. So after we found the Bayview campus, and the Bayview campus was opened in America, the next step was to join up Mountain View, because Sergey Brin had begun to work out of his garage for a really low fee around his job at Mountain View, which as a browser was known, but it wasn't very well known. Google was taking off like a rocket, like unbelievably just taking off. Originally it was a bit slow to get going, but it was very busy. We had 28 staff in the original office that I was basically managing hybrid from Australia, because I was still in Australia and studying university, business management, IT. I'd been asked to come out and spend more money, and I said, well, I've got my budget. I already own Google. I own the rights to Google. I own the clouds. I own all the logos, symbols, everything. I'm all Google. Everything is me, Google. Like, legally, I'm the owner of Google. So if you want to keep working, it's fine. Keep working, putting fundraising to the project. And Sergey Brin had come in as a graduate, and he'd been doing some very good work. And Larry Page working from an office, and it's like Suzanne Wojcicki or Wojcicki's house garage, basically, in Silicon Valley. So they just kept building up a small home office, because a rent can be quite expensive if you don't buy the building, like the original office that we bought the building in. So they'd already had Mountain View they were working in, so they needed a separate office. So they just kept working away on that, working away on the hard IT stuff from home, helping me with things from home. So that's what gave them the right to be co-founders, because they were quite skilled. So that was by permission that I gave them the right to be co-founders. From that point on, I tried to get my family involved, and they were happy for me to move to the United States, but they didn't want to put any funding in my own immediate family, my parents. My father was an engineer. My brother was studying engineering, but he moved into the music industry as a music producer. So we both have music. I was a music artist as well as doing schooling and doing these things with cloud and technology. So my music and my inventions are very well known. And so from this point, the Mountain View campus, eventually Mountain View became very large office. It's very successful. And once that began happening, I actually put through requests to start looking at other buildings and buying up other buildings that were discounted around the area, because California is still quite cheap, and New York had some cheap buildings. But then we went to look for Dallas and Detroit for offices in Chicago, and asked them to keep expanding if they can find more funding, which they did. And from then I looked at small businesses, getting small businesses web spaces, because the web spaces back then were pretty expensive. Most small businesses weren't able to afford to make their own website, and they didn't have any IT skills to start up, to do a startup of a business. So some of them are like gardening businesses where they have a lot of clients, but they just keep track of them on an old desktop computer or a piece of paper, like a ledger. So similar to like an eBay invoicing, they have something like that for Google with the Google Office suites that I designed, which is like Office 365. I designed it in 1993. And not getting enough funding from my own family, I went to Bill Gates about it. So that's why they have Office 365. I made that in 1993 when I was like a young boy, along with cloud. So the funding part is very, very important. Like Google cannot get going without funding. So there's a lot of small businesses that put money in, like in Kentucky and other areas in New York. Like we have thousands of businesses that put money in. That became millions and millions and millions of dollars now, including Australia. So all this, including all the security software and worldwide, and now we have Google phones, Google Pixel. I put through an invention to increase the clarity of old photos using cameras over the internet. So like you get an old photo that's black and white or a really old photo's color and it's all messed up, you can clarify it. It's not just 8K, but it's a special lens. They use the special computer technology that I'd invented, and the people who were funding everything did it. And that's part of Google too, so they have clearer photographs for Google Maps, have clearer imaging. The cybersecurity, I did know how to do it, but I wasn't an IT expert, so I made up the name Gemini, just made up the name Gemini, and they made Gemini. And I gave them like the different things I want to stop viruses, to stop Trojans, to stop foreigners doing foreign attacks from like people who are enemies of the United States, attacking the internet infrastructure and setting up things within Google to prevent those problems happening. And other things like having a Gmail account added in to business accounts for virtualization, where you can have a storage space online with Google, which is my invention originally for cloud, which Bill Gates helped me with Microsoft 365 and Microsoft OneDrive. So I gave Google that, which is brand new too, which is cloud. They've never had cloud in the world until I found a cloud, and I made online storage and these things available. So then they had the business setups for small businesses, just like one person or like 20 or 30 people, where the virtualization is made for like say 600 computers or 400 computers in one building. For a business it can be tailor-made, or just one computer, and you can add more RAM or more cores per computer, and you just pay for it by month by month. They're all the new ones. They're new, they were my inventions, but I had less impact and less input on that. It all started in 1993, so 1993 to 1997, I had already given all these details out and organised all this from day one. These are all my ideas and inventions. So the main initial period was just Google Maps and starting up the business, which is really good in the cloud and getting everything going. And some of the staff have been working there for 20 years, and some of them left due to financial problems. So now the company is what it is today. And after bringing Sergey Brin and Larry Page on, a 1/3 co-owner of the company. Originally I was 100% ownership of the company. That's because they have a large IT input into the company, which I did not pay for that. A lot of the funding for other people paid for most of the IT input, but I maintained the rights to all the logos, all the symbols, 1/3 ownership of the company, royalties and things like this. Some of the money I'm not receiving because they've excluded me from some things, which I have to chase that up, but a lot of the money I have received, which has been good for me. The startup years were hard, but these are the good years now, where the company's become a lot more big, and there's a lot more people than myself and those two co-founders involved. There's a very large amount of people involved. We have American government and Australian government involved. We have militaries involved. We have businesses and IT experts and cybersecurity experts all around the world involved. So Google's become what it is today. And now Google is a competitor with the iPhone and the mobile phone industry, and with Samsung. So they're the three big phone companies that are, probably the top three outside of China and Russia. There's like Google, iPhone, and Samsung. So now with a lot of factories coming back to United States, which I wanted to have happen, and I conveyed that to Donald Trump during COVID in 2018. Now Donald Trump's making that happen, and so is Silicon Valley, which I conveyed that back in 2010, 2018. So a lot of the American businesses will be able to produce their own computer chips and their own mobile phones for Google or iPhone, which is a competitor inside USA. So that's good. So this is the end of this video, and that breaks down the bulk of the information.